Hi again, it's me, Lilian Raji, Global Communications Advisor, fractional CMO, and founder of the PRadvisor.com. Happy to see you're back for the next class in the series. So excited that you love this course as much as I did making it. Now, just a quick reminder, these YouTube videos here are giving you the fundamentals on influencer marketing, but the real, true breakthrough comes from the additional $3,500 in bonus materials. And you can only get them by registering on the PRadvisor.com website. Registration is completely free and comes with the best part, a 20-minute free call with me to answer all your questions directly about harnessing the power of social media influencers. What are you waiting for? Head over to the PRadvisor.com website now to get your bonuses. See you soon. Welcome back to our next session of Harnessing the Power of Social Media Influencers. We spent the last session investigating how to find the right influencers and learning how to identify the fakers from the famous. Now, let's discuss another popular question. Macro versus micro influencers. Which is right for me? The simple answer is, well, what can you afford? A macro influencer is defined as someone with over 100,000 followers. They've been building their audience for quite a time and have earned their place in the influencer stratosphere. That is, if their followers are real. That's for our last class. A micro influencer has anywhere from 10,000 to 100,000 followers. They will ultimately have a closer relationship with their followers than a macro influencer, particularly as they continue to build their following to reach macro status. And then there's a third category known as the nano influencer. The nano influencers are the ones with less than 10,000 followers. I will always argue that nano influencers offer more bang for the buck than micro and macro influencers, particularly because they are doing all they can to build their following, meaning they have more authentic relationships with their followers and are more trusted. They also tend to be cheaper to do business with. The challenge, however, is that you'll need 100 nano influencers for the same reach as a 10 micro influencers and one macro influencer. But don't discount the little guys. Knowing your long-term objectives in advance will help you determine if a nano influencer is worth investigating. But back to our question, is a macro or micro influencer a better option for you? Well, if you have Kardashian money, then by all means, go big or go home. Macro influencers with real followers and real engagement know their worth and will happily charge you big dollars for the privilege of mentioning your name once in an Instagram post, which will then be deleted after a few days because they want you to re-up with them. Harper's Bazaar did an article a few years ago on what top influencers make. Those numbers you're looking at right now give you a sense of how far your money goes when you're playing in the big leagues. Me personally, I prefer to work with micro influencers. The price for working with them is more reasonable than the big guys. Note that paid is highlighted. That's because you're more likely to be able to compensate a micro influencer in methods other than money. We'll get into that in a moment. As I mentioned earlier, I'm also very keen on working with up-and-comers, the nano influencers. You can build meaningful relationships with them. They also tend to have more meaningful relationships with their followers. Ultimately, those relationships are what has value for you, not how many people follow them. After weeding out the fraudsters, you want to focus on how they treat the people who follow them. I spoke about this a bit earlier. We don't just want to see likes, we also want to see that they're responding to people who comment on their page. An influencer that does this is someone who is building relationships with her followers. They're not just there to feed their ego. Their followers are valued for their feedback and commentary. We call these interactions engagement. It's the single most important value any influencer brings. The challenge with macro influencers is that the more people follow them, the less likely they will engage authentically with their followers. There's just too many of them. Although I've seen a few good influencers with 500,000 followers or so still respond to as many comments as they can. Micro and nano influencers, however, still have the luxury of building those personal relationships. Eventually, they will grow to become macro influencers, but until that time, it's best to grab them while they're still growing. So, in your worksheets today, I have a checklist of things I look for when choosing candidates for an influencer campaign. You'll also find a template on how to reach out to them and a checklist of things to look for in their response. Lastly, you'll find guidelines for writing a creative brief to help describe your project to the influencer. You've done your vetting, you've used my worksheets to help make contact with them. Now, what happens next? We'll cover that in the next session. See you then.